If you intend to read the short story, please set the video playback to 1.5x speed. Then, Sky Butterfly will open the first page. Title: The Gardener of the Gray City, Doyun. Doyun lived in the smallest and oldest rooftop room in the world. His job was as a gardener at a small park managed by the district office. Amidst a forest of towering buildings, the park he tended to look shabby, like worn-out clothes. Every morning, Doyun watched the people he encountered on his way to work. Each of them walked briskly, checking their expensive watches, and their expressions always bore the urgency of feeling that something was missing. Doyun's gaze always lingered not on their footsteps, but on the dandelion blooming in the corner of the flower bed. Those people are striving for perfection, a 10 out of 10. Doyun believed his ability was a 6. He was well aware of the pain of the -1 that came whenever he wished for a 7. So, he decided to look for a +1 in his small garden every morning, discovering a plant with an extra leaf since yesterday and deeply inhaling the fresh scent rising from the soil when watering it. That was Doyun's +1. One day, a middle-aged man visiting the park sat on a bench and let out a deep sigh. The man was wearing a top-quality suit, but his eyes were hollow and his hands were trembling. Doyun approached him and quietly handed him a glass of water. "Teacher, the flowers are really pretty, aren't they?" The man snorted mockingly. "What's so special about these little flowers? My business is on the verge of bankruptcy right now, so it must be nice for people like you to be able to live while looking at such leisurely flowers." Doyun quietly stared into the man's eyes. The man was driving himself into an abyss of -5 or -10 by comparing himself to those higher than himself. Doyun muttered as he pulled weeds next to the flower bed. "Teacher, when I tend to my garden, I only look up to my feet. I plant only as many seeds as the amount of soil in my bowl holds. But right now, you are reaching out to catch the sun beyond that building. That distance is much farther than the length of your arm." The man stared blankly at Doyun. Doyun took a coin out of his pocket and showed it to him. "This is my lucky coin. I toss this coin every morning. If it lands heads up, I resolve to find one thing to be grateful for today, and if it lands tails, I resolve to treat one person warmly today. The outcome doesn't matter, because the moment I toss the coin, my destiny is already in my hands." From that day on, the man visited the park every day. He was still on the brink of bankruptcy, and life was arduous. However, following Doyun, he began to search for his own +1. He loosened his tie and touched the soil, and as he walked around the garden, he realized just how bound he had been by the massive chains of desire. He finally began to affirm himself for having the 5, and started walking joyfully toward the 6. The man no longer compared himself to others. The warm cup of tea he was enjoying now, and the simple conversation he shared with Doyun became to him a piece of bread sweeter than any wealth or fame. Doyun and the man sat side by side, gazing at the setting sun. The dazzling forest of buildings was no longer a giant prison to them, but merely a backdrop. Doyun spoke. "Teacher, look over there. Flowers do not compete to bloom before others. They simply wait for their season to come." The man smiled. A lucky coin in his pocket rang with a cold metallic sound. He was no longer a mere bystander to others, but a noble gardener tending to the garden of his own life. Today, dandelion seeds were carried by the wind across Doyun's garden. To some, they might be humble grass seeds, but they were the most perfect 10 possibilities to land anywhere and bloom into their own utopia once again. I hope peace dwells wherever your thoughts reach. At the Sky Butterfly Library of Contemplation, I sincerely wish for your tomorrow to be a little deeper than today.